Flanagan from Invesco, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here today interviewing Dawn Dixon, a serial entrepreneur and the CEO of Popcom. Dawn, welcome. And let me recognize in the audience being VCs, successful entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs. Maybe start with what gave you the energy to be an entrepreneur and how did you make that first step, and maybe give a little bit of insight into our visitors.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for having me, Marty. It's definitely an honor and a pleasure. And Atlanta's like my second home. So hello to everyone in Atlanta and beyond. But I've been an entrepreneur now 19 years. It'll be 20 next year. And I went to school, like my parents told me, to be a good student, go to college, graduate, get a corporate job. And I did all of that. And I was sitting at my desk at my nice corporate job with good benefits and a good plan to retirement. And it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like I belonged. And so I always had the itch to start something on my own, because I went to school for IT in 2000 and I learned so much about new and emerging technology. And I really was like interested in working on something new and innovative. And I was working in the insurance industry. It wasn't so exciting. And so I decided to start my own business, a website. It was a website. It was essentially a tech company, now that I look back, to tell people about events and entertainment and activities and concerts and restaurants going on in my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. And it ended up being one of the first 3 websites of its type in the country. So definitely a pioneer in that, and it took off pretty quickly. So that was the only thing I needed to happen for me to quit my job and double down on entrepreneurship.
Well, that's awesome. And I guess good for you. Listen to your mom and dad. We all do that, and it tends to be a good thing. So you got the great foundation. But congrats from my personal perspective, moving out of the insurance industry, and that your success has been, just something to admire. And I think a lot of people really like to understand Popcom. I mean, what a fascinating idea of, trying to make vending machines do something that no one really anticipated. So will you give us, some insights, if you don't mind?
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Popcom developed software to revolutionize automated retail. And what that means is that we make software that really integrates into not only vending machines, but also kiosks, which are standalone that you just may place an order on, and lockers, which are the new type of vending, like Amazon package lockers, a new way to close the last mile and deliver a product to customers. And with the problem that I experienced, I consider myself a serial problem solver more than anything, is when I was selling my own products and vending machines in 2013 in Atlanta Airport, I realized that I didn't have enough data and information from and about my customers to determine if my business was performing well. All that I knew each day about my vending machine was the basket size, meaning what was the average price purchase and how much money that I made each day. But I couldn't get an email from them, and no lead generation, no remarketing, no retargeting, no true understanding of traffic patterns. And especially in a place like Atlanta Airport, where there's thousands of customers and opportunities for conversion, I had no idea of my conversion rate. And so I sought out to find a solution that I could integrate into my own machine to make it smarter, but it didn't exist. So that led me to starting my own business, which is Popcom, to develop software that really brings hardware into the 21st century and gives it like the e-commerce experience. And people that have a retail business can understand how important data and analytics are for the growth of our businesses.
Well, that's fascinating. And I'm just curious, right? We're in the middle of COVID, and it's changed how we are dealing with our daily lives, and how we're going out to get meals and buying whatever we want to do. So do you have emerging thoughts with where you'll take Popcom? Have you sensed a new direction from the environment that we're in?
Definitely. COVID, it required us to make a lot of changes. The first big change was in our supply chain. We were originally manufacturing in China. It just wasn't favorable for many reasons, not even with COVID and the shipping, but also with the tariffs and our inability to travel to China anymore to test products and interact with our manufacturers. So we moved our entire supply chain to the United States. We also had to make adjustments in our business model. We were initially going to market early this year, and we had retailers lined up, literally 20 retailers ready to pay $20,000 for hardware to buy it outright. Well, retailers' lives got shook up. And so now what was an easy thing for them to pay for became challenging because of things that they're experiencing with shutdown. So we changed our model from outright purchase to a lease model. So I don't have to put so much money up front in order to get the machines out. And then, we also made some physical changes with our hardware partners because now people don't want to touch things. Yes. And they're worried about germs. And so now all of the screens are what we call touchless, where they can use gloves, they can use a stylus, and they can use a pen. So they don't have to touch it anymore. And that has resulted in an increase of interest, not just because of us, but the overall industry is increasing because, as you mentioned, you go to restaurants these days and they want you to self-checkout or order in advance or pick up from another place. So automated retail is growing as retailers look for ways to engage with customers and give them that experience without actually having physical contact.
Well, you sure are a problem solver, and I will say it does look like as challenging as this is, and sad for all the hard things that come along with it. But for your business, it looks like it create a real opportunity for you. So that's really fantastic. So you mentioned China and working in China and the like, and what's become very topical for probably all the wrong reasons is TikTok, right? It's the craze, and it's really becoming a victim of trade wars, and that's really not my question. But in your mind, why has TikTok become the phenomenon that it has been from your perspective?
Well, as the mother of a 16-year-old who was using Musical.ly for years, I didn't get it at first. I did not understand why you would want to make little videos dancing and singing. It never appealed to me. I thought it was for the kids. But then I quickly realized, obviously I'm no longer a spring chicken, but the young people really drive the innovation and they drive the behaviors of the rest of us. So I think it took off because the kids just took it over. And then they start posting the TikToks on Instagram and Facebook. And then they start involving, especially during COVID, you see the grandparents and the whole families doing TikToks. So what was moving a little bit slower and really something that we looked at as like, oh, this is for the kids last year. This year, when we're all sheltered in place, stuck in the house together, you have grandma, grandpa, moms and dads jumping in on the TikToks, and it became a phenomenon. And outside of all of the political issues between US and China that affect my business and many other businesses, it just was timely. It was just like right place, right time, a feel-good thing to do when you're in the house with nothing else that you can do. You've Netflixed everything you can. Now, making your own videos.
Yeah, it's amazing actually to, as you say, I didn't get it for sure, and I probably don't, but I have other interests and I'm happy with those.
By the way.
That said though, I think it probably gets to, some of the core things of your business too. If you look at the people that are partnering with TikTok right now, it's clearly, seems to me, a move towards the access to the data and the information, within it more than anything else. Is that your sense of the opportunity?
Absolutely, because not many businesses are getting data points on consumers starting at age 6, 7, 8. So imagine the lifespan of those people that start using TikTok early, and they're now in that data sphere, and now they're tracking their whole lives and what they do. And I do understand that. I was explaining to my daughter and my young niece over the weekend because they're up in arms, about announcements about TikTok possibly getting shut down. And it's like a new announcement all the time. It could get shut down. It's getting bought. It could get shut down. So they're scared. And I said, well, you guys, this is an important thing for you to understand about your data and the power of your data and the ownership and who has access to it and how it can impact you and the entire country. So I think it's a really valuable lesson for kids and young people to start really being aware of the value of data. Obviously, Popcom is a data company. We are in business to collect data from and about consumers in the automated retail space. But we all see these big tech players wanting to get their hands on TikTok, and it's not for the dances. It's definitely for the data.
So stay on the data topic, right? So the more data you have, the more successful and meaningful your customer experience will be. I think that's sort of fundamental for everybody. But are you starting to sense you see the value there? There's an emerging dialogue of, wait a minute, it's my data. I'm concerned about my privacy. Where are you in that? Are you starting to get challenged at all, or how are you thinking about it as a leader of your company and the founder?
Definitely, that's a great question because we foresaw this, well, not exactly this, but we definitely started looking into data privacy years ago, 2017 to be exact, because we're dealing with face recognition and the laws that passed in the state of California around the use of facial recognition. We had to really adapt our business model to make sure that PopCom never collects any identifying data. So we actually don't have any of the information about specific individuals. We only have a general profile. We call it a demographic profile or a biometric hash. And what that is it'll say your approximate age, gender, your emotion, and if you made a purchase. So in my case, it would say woman. Hopefully it would say I'm a young adult. You know, that's what I consider myself to be. And if I completed the purchase, it would never know it's Dawn Dixon unless I opted in with my email or phone number and said, yes, connect my profile with my purchasing history so that I could do things like be incentivized through rewards and loyalty programs. Also, of course, you have to verify your identity to purchase products that are regulated, like alcohol and cannabis. But even then, we do not take identifying information. There's an app. The customer securely verifies their information on their phone and then scans a QR code. So we moved all of our identity data, so identity management, onto the blockchain in 2018. That way, we don't have to even ever worry about the data being a major issue for us.
Good for you. You were definitely way ahead of the curve, and quite frankly, way ahead of sort of, I think, probably the emerging challenges for some businesses that
Definitely.
have been so proactive.
Definitely. And luckily we're just in tech. I have a lot of brilliant young people and, you know, working with us and they suggested, why don't you look into the blockchain ledger to store identity data? And I said, wow, this is a great idea.
So incredible success at Popcom. You know, you're a serial entrepreneur. It's clearly in the blood. You're the problem solver. So any emerging next steps, ideas coming from you, or are you going to keep them to yourself?
No, you know, what I'm really focused on is getting this first product out. I never realized, and I don't think many entrepreneurs, because we're so ambitious and so driven and optimistic that it's going to move fast. And it just doesn't move as fast as we ever wanted to. So the product that I've been working on since 2013, I'm on version 6 of this hardware and this software platform. So my main goal is just to get it out, let the customers, our customers are businesses, and let the consumers get their hands on it. And I'm waiting for them to give me their feedback. So the innovation is going to really be inspired by their experience. We're always looking to make the customer experience better. And then we're also, of course, bringing alcohol vending and cannabis vending to market, which is really exciting for us. We were approved by the California ABC board, our technology solution. So we're really excited to be able to move into those spaces that have previously not been available for automation because of the legislators' lack of confidence in technology to confirm identity. So that's exciting, and that's what we're really doubling down on.
Well, after version 6, it looks like it's going to be a overnight success, huh?
So yes, 10-year overnight success.
Yes. But stay on that for a second, though, because I think back to the first question, and it's really lessons learned and what makes an entrepreneur so successful. Yes, it's obviously the vision, but it also you have conviction to your idea and a core belief that it's going to make a difference. And as you say, you're solving a problem in this instance. But isn't also the message to eyes wide open, ears wide open, listen to learn, modify, learn, modify. It seems like a powerful message that
very agile and look to your customers for solutions. A lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of building what they think is best and what they want and not listening to see, is this scalable? Does the mass, does your target audience at scale want this? And so that's something that we've spent a lot of time doing. And that's why we made several iterations, because we'll do a prototype, test it, and a customer will come back and say, well, it really will be nice to have this. And this is something we really need. And I'm like, okay, we didn't think of this. And so that's why it's important not to rush to market so fast. A lot of times it happens especially when you're venture back like we are, you really want to get to those profits and those revenues quickly to please your investors and, for the optics. But if you don't have right product market fit or you're not putting the right thing out, it can really be devastating. So I'm doing all that I can to prevent that from happening.
Well, good for you. And I will say just different experiences I've had over the years. And, some of the characteristics that make entrepreneurs so successful is that drive and that vision. And those are the great characteristics. But I've also seen it where so dogmatic on what they want the answer to be that it also becomes, the weakness of the entrepreneur. And getting that balance right is really important and not easy to do. And you can speak to it. I mean, that's what you've done.
Yeah, it's certainly not easy to do. I'm very grateful for literally, like say, like an army of investors, advisors, mentors. I have an executive coach, an amazing team that we collaborate on these things. It's very easy as a founder to get locked into your first vision.
Yes.
And that's what I did for a while. Like transparently, I made a lot of mistakes. I was so locked into what I thought was best. And I wasn't even as coachable as I should have been and that I am now. And it took me being in programs like Techstars and the NASDAQ Entrepreneur Program to really realize that I have to build what the public wants.
Yes.
My vision got us here, but it may not be the vision to get us to the billions that we're targeting, right? And so being self-aware and also being coachable is, I think, key.
That's really good advice. And one of the things that at Invesco, our vision is to be the most client-centric firm in the industry. And you say that sounds pretty basic. The word is not client-centric. The word is most, right? And most. And that's what causes the learning. And the only way you can be responsive to the client is to understand them more deeply than any one of your competitors. And that's really what you've done. And a big congratulations. It's
Thank you.
As I said, it's not easy to do.
A lot of entrepreneurs ask me like where to start and what would be my advice, since I've now started 5 businesses and I'm very grateful that 4 of them are still alive and living, and my longest one is now 16 years old. And I always go back to customer discovery as the foundation of my business, understanding who I'm building a product for. And that aligns with even securing capital, because I went for a long time not being able to raise money. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't raise money. And, you can think of excuses, say because of a demographic thing or a gender thing, but it's really like, I didn't really have my stuff together. I didn't really have my business package properly. I didn't really know my go-to-market strategy. I really didn't know how I was going to scale this. I just wanted, of course, it's like, I want to raise money. It's like the Shark Tank dilemma. Like, okay, you got a business, raise money. But I think that if more more entrepreneurs really focus in on customer discovery and getting to that product market fit and understanding exactly what people will buy at what price and who you're selling it to and where, then you can show that to investors. And that's clear reason to invest. Who wouldn't turn away money in the bank? Not an idea, but money coming into the bank. And so that's what I always tell, especially minorities, Black women. Never get caught up into these statistics they tell us about what we can't do. I have raised $3.3 million. And when you have a good business and you know your business inside and out, investors will support you because they see the opportunity for them to grow their investment and make their LPs happy with you. So that's always the goal. What can you do to give a return and show and demonstrate that you're going to generate a return? And once I started really focusing on not all the vision, but the money, the return, how I'm going to get the money, investors were happy to give me money. So that's what I advise. That's my advice and what I always tell people.
You know what? It is also true. And look, when somebody's dedicating their life to creating a new business, and as you say, it's harder, it takes longer, more often than not, you don't make it. The real answer is, if you're going to generate a return, you're going to find the money, right?
Yes.
But let me ask one more thing, because I think this might be another important thing. So recognizing when you're in the phase of trying to raise money, there's always that cash burn, and when are you going to run out of money before you get to the market? My experience too is where the money comes from matters a lot. And you were hitting on a topic earlier that I think is very important, right? Depending on some investors, all they really care about is getting a return as quickly as they can against the balance that what you're trying to accomplish, what's the best business that you're going to build, and they don't always go hand in hand. So any advice on, thinking through, given a choice, what a good investor looks like?
Yeah, I say approach investor relationships like you do your personal relationships, like with your spouse or significant other. This is a true marriage, and is it a right alignment? Are their goals aligned with your goals immediately, short term and long term? And so I wasn't one of those investors who went out and just pitched widely and cast my net wide and tried to pitch to everyone that I could, or went and had 100 investor meetings. My first round that I closed for $1 million from VCs and accredited angels, I think I only pitched about 30 investors and then I closed 9. And that was because I took the time to deeply research the investors, the managing partners, the other companies in portfolio, their overall thesis. How can they help me? Because at the stage of a seed and even a Series A, you don't just need money, you need help, a lot of help. And I'm not ready to invest just to dump money into me and walk away. I need some guidance, and I knew that, and I need some expertise. So I really pick my investors strategically. So my advice is take the time to get to know who you're pitching, not just for how big their fund is, but who are they as people? Is it a culture fit? Will you get along? Do they have experience in what you're doing? Do other companies that they have in their portfolio align? Can you share some of those customers? Can you work with any of the portfolio customers? Really dig deep. Take the time to do the research. Stop just pitching to anyone that's available because it wastes everybody's time. The investor will say, hey, did you even look at my portfolio? This is not my interest. I invest in fintech. You're in consumer products. So it's very important to understand who you're dealing with. And we have really positive relationships with the majority of our investors because we're very aligned.
Dawn, that is great advice and great insights because, just over my career, I've seen it going poorly and it goes poorly, right? And you want more than the money, right? You want all those added elements that, make you a better business and, up the odds of your success. And I come back to the other topic that you raised and just reiterate the importance of cultural alignment, right? Because if you're misaligned on the cultural elements, from my perspective, what I've seen over the years is you will have a problem. You just don't know when you'll have a problem. It's just a matter of time. So that's another one I'd underline that one, again, with all that good advice that you've given everybody.
Exactly. And I also want to share too that cultural and diversity doesn't always mean like race or gender. For me, it means worldview. It means experience. It means perspective. And so I really look not at like what the person looks like. That's very external to me. What diverse perspective can they bring to the table to help me think in a different way? And how are we not, to make sure we're not all thinking the same way? I don't want a whole bunch of me's because I don't know everything. I want people that are going to challenge me and tell me that I'm wrong or tell me to think a different way. And so when you think about diversity, everyone, please consider a thought as diversity. If everyone looks the same and they have different world views and experiences, that's still okay. There's still diversity there.
You're hitting on a really good point. And I'd say I'm very fortunate here, the Invesco directors, that's really been the focus. It is very different, broad, different experiences, different points of view, different educations, in our case, luckily, different parts of the world, et cetera. And you just learn so much more when somebody doesn't think like you do and that they haven't had.
I wish they would start measuring diversity more broadly than what a person looks like. And maybe we'll get there one day.
Yeah, well, it's, again, really, really thoughtful. And I couldn't be more excited for what you've done, your career. And I'm sure everybody here has just really enjoyed the conversation and hearing from you. Very wise, very thoughtful, just beyond the success that you've had. So a pleasure to spend time with you.
Thank you, Marty. My pleasure and honor to speak with you, and just super excited to even have the opportunity to talk with you and share with the community about PopCom.
Well, as I said, everybody wants to be you. Everybody wants to be the cool kid.
I want to be Marty. So we can places today if you'd like to be a startup founder all over.
There you go. Okay. Thank you very much.